Now, the rest of the story.
Hey, welcome back. I'll try to make sure that the audio recorded on this video, or at least you can hear me. Well, I'm down here in the bottom of the valley, which is actually really scenic down here. Blue sky, sunny. It's actually a little bit more mild than it was when we were cutting this yesterday. It's about 24 hours later. And really probably the best drying conditions I think I've ever had down here. The field is already dry. The ground is dry, that's why I laid everything out flat. In the past, I always had to lay it out flat because it was so thick I couldn't windrow it. But what we're dealing with is pretty well almost 100% regrowth, new growth, like year over year. The stuff that was always super heavy in the past was typically from it not being made the year before, or it was late in the year and the first cut was never made until August. So you're cutting technically first and second crop all in one run. We have a little bit of that here because I did some reclaiming of some of the ground down here. Probably reclaimed now, but we get a good rainstorm and it won't be reclaimed anymore. But I'm taking full advantage of everything I can, because for those of you that have been watching and keeping score know that I made the comment about that down here, that when I started running this place again, the landlord said that if you can cut it and you can make it, you can have it. And I am taking full advantage of that statement, which the landlords actually appreciated too, because I do clean it up really nice down here. I'm not really out to pat myself in the back, but even the landlords have told me that I've done a better job than some of the other people who have been down here as far as cleaning this up. And pretty much in all the ground that I've ran, not even just this farm, I try to leave them in better condition when I'm at the end of my contract than when I take them on. And this place, pretty much everything from hitting it with the brush cutter, which I'm probably going to bring the mower down here again, and just go around the outside and push some of that stuff back that I didn't cut with the mower. And then even like the first year, I came through from cleaning up from what the previous people didn't get made or didn't try to make. I just took down any of the tree saplings, and I mean, it's actually a lot more enjoyable to be down here than maybe it's been in the past. Maybe I'm just saying that for myself, but it's scenic. Fertilizers paying huge down here. The dry fertilizer was put on the majority of this field at least once. I actually ran out the buggy because I had done everything and then some, and I was really just to the point where the last 200 pounds I just wanted to go home. So the outside 2 rounds along the river here, I did those twice. Definitely can tell that from what I'm throwing out the back of the tedder. It's kind of deceiving. When I was down here with the 4-wheeler, the stuff was, I mean, it was tall. I mean, the only way I could actually see to where I was driving, I had to actually stand up on foot pegs of the 4-wheeler and kind of periscope my way around. Once you're in a tractor, obviously you're sitting up higher, you can see better. It's going into the machine, it looks like there's a lot of material there. It comes out the back of the machine, and I don't know if you guys are actually being able to see the material that I'm raking out or tedding out, but off to the side there. It's flat. The Moco and even that Kuhn machine, they do a really good job of just laying out a flat, wide piece of material, and going through and tedding it out now, breaking it up. So trying to maximize as much sun as I can on it, plus allows any wind, any breeze that we get to blow that warm air through it and help it get dried out. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's an awful lot of material back there, which kind of leads back into the original argument we had. We weren't arguing, but Ryan and I were talking. Even before I come down here, it was don't cut the whole farm, which we didn't, but we cut the bottom exclusively first. And once we got done, Ryan and I stopped and we're talking. It was about 1:30, and we were trying to decide whether or not to keep cutting, or if that was it, you know, just kind of manage your risk, which I'm pretty anxious right now. I just want to make sure that my hay crop actually gets dried out, baled up, and put inside, because this stuff's getting slammed in under a roof basically as soon as possible, which getting a lot of negative comment remarks. I'm not gonna say too much because you can't satisfy everybody, but I guess I'm awfully negative, but I guess I'd say is I'm being more realistic about what's really going on around here. I had this exact same forecast last year where I had a week of sunshine. Not supposed to have any rain for 8 days now. Okay. Well, last year I had that forecast and it changed 2 days after I had it cut. So when I was headed down here with the baler, I got over 1 inch of rain and I lost the bottom. I ended up being able to make 50 bales off this, maybe. I was able to make the bench up there. I got 20 bales off the bench field. I got 50 bales off this. First cut down here, I'm looking for like 200 bales. Overall, at minimum, I'd like to see 600 total off of everything I make this year, which I think 600 bales is very doable. Extreme high end, 1,000 bales is pretty much, I'd say, completely out of reach. Like, I mean, all the stars would have to align just perfect to be able to get 1,000 bales off of all the ground I got, which I'm not just talking about the valley. Don't think I'm just talking about this farm. But probably more realistic, I think the range is 600 to 800 bales. I mean, 600 minimum. I usually sell. Last year was my first real year selling a significant amount of hay. I ended up having what, 450 bales. I started off just selling a load or two because, I figured they wouldn't want all that hay, yada yada yada. I got about a month into hauling my hay for last season, and I was sending about 40 bales a week, and they were not every single week, but for the most part they were getting sold. And I have more than one sale barn locally that I could haul to. So if I have to bump it up to, I don't know, instead of 40 bales, maybe do maybe 56, 2 loads up to the next further away sale barn. And that's if the price is within reason, because I'm not gonna haul hay farther away and get a lower price than if I just sell it to the closer barn. I'll just see if they'll take more hay. My problem is that when I'm making a good quality, beautiful looking stuff, I mean, again, patting myself on the shoulder, but this stuff is beautiful. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. It's gonna have that nice color to it, and if I can get it slammed in the shed, and I don't want to say an alarming amount of preservative on it, because reading the label, I don't think you can put too much on it. It's really just how much you want to spend on your preservative. Preservative went up $800 this year. I actually had to go to Dodgeville to get it. But same thing with the net wrap and the preservative. I'm only really looking at 2 cuttings down here. And I look at this as more of a business. I do have to feed my cows, don't get me wrong. fair share of this is probably going to get moved. So I'm looking to make quality hay that looks nice, it's appealing as it's sitting up the sales barn. So I'm more than likely going to be doing 4 wraps around the bales to make keep the bales nice and tight, and for the amount of times that they're going to be handled, because they're going from dropping out of the baler, from being picked up, put onto a hay wagon, hauled up to the buildings, and then I gotta unload them at the buildings, stack them in the shed. They sit there for XYZ amount of time, unload them out of the shed, put them on a trailer, take them to the local sales barn, unload them up there, and they still have to look pretty. They don't have to look pretty, but curb appeal, the whole how they look as they're sitting in the stack up there, it does kind of play into what people are willing to pay for them. So I've seen hay up there where I've taken a load of hay up, like the first stuff I sold last year, I took up where I almost unloaded it at home, just because it's just like, there ain't no way. It was waterway hay that I think we raked it twice, and it wasn't green, but it wasn't rotten. It was just that rained on hay, like that, like that dull brown look, you know. I mean, cattle will still eat it, but I critique myself so bad. I almost didn't sell them. Took them up. They sat up there for 2 weeks. Right, of course, this is September, right? People aren't typically worried about buying hay when harvest is going on. I mean, you still have people buying, don't get me wrong. It ended up going for somewhere like $100 a ton, which is really good, especially for that time of year. And what I've seen up there, I've seen some bales with, you know, twine net wrap on them, where you can see that they've never been inside a day of their life. They've been rained on, left out in the elements, and people are taking material like that up and selling them. It's pretty much what I've been told is somebody will typically buy it. You might not get as much for it as you really prefer, but there's generally somebody gonna buy it. Now myself, if I got hay that looks like that, I'll buy the cows, this is why I bought the cows, and I'll feed it out to my cows. I mean, I like having a home raised, homegrown meat in the freezer. I already have a calf picked out for the freezer, and on top of that, I get a little bit more value out of my hay if I have some hay that isn't top quality or the best quality. I'm going to start with the lowest stuff first and feed that to my cows. They'll eat it. I give them a little bit of corn, some Bale corn fodder. I mean, the cows actually go for the corn fodder more than they go for the hay right now, and I'm actually giving them fresh, new cut hay currently. And the cows are happy. They got their winter coats are all shutted off. The calves are doing awesome. I think they were playing tag last night when I went out to check them. Got a new calf. I don't think I've said anything about Junior yet. Yeah, that's right, Junior. It's a little boy, and he's kind of stupid. He's cute. He's kind of stupid. Not really bad, but there's a reason why when you have animals, you have to put eyes on them periodically. And I went out and checked him, was it 2 nights ago? It was 2 nights ago. And his mom was just freaking out. You know how cows freak out, you know, just bellowing. Back by herself, because I already put grain in for the cows, so everybody else was back at the feed bunk. Went and checked and see what she was bawling for, and we have an old hay manger in that red shed out there. And Junior had gotten in on the one side where there was a board off, managed to walk the whole length of that manger, and then was curled up laying in the manger. Wasn't hurting anybody. I wasn't hurting anything. I mean, he's just doing his thing, taking a nap. I just, you know, he's only, what, 70 pounds, so I grabbed him, picked him up, and plopped him down, and proceeded on with my day. But the thing is, like, people try to warn me and say that you got to be careful around cattle, because Mama we were all going in the same general direction. I was headed towards the gate, and she was heading towards the feed bunk by then because she had her calf, and she kept, you know, kind of side checking me as we were heading back to the gate because I was following them, and she thought I was going after Junior, which really wasn't the case. So I don't know, cattle herd's still growing. I'm planning on keeping all the heifers for Sirius this time. I'm talking about going and getting a Red Angus bull because a bunch of the black cows had calved. I had one of my red cows calved. That's actually the one I bought for my dad. So she's a second calf. This would have been her second calf. And she's probably bred by that black bull by now. I mean, it's safe to say she was the first one that calved this year. But I have my red cows are starting to show signs of getting ready to calve. So Mom wants to actually go find a red bull because she's like, we need another bull for our cows. I don't mind if we have a black and a red bull. I mean, they don't really care or seem to mind. So I'm gonna probably start looking for a Red Angus bull here in the next week. This week is just packed. Between doing this today, I gotta go 14 miles to the last cornfield I have that I have to side dress. Once I do that, Tuesday, probably gonna get things around for baling some of this. And if we don't start baling Tuesday, Wednesday for sure we'll be down here because they're not calling for rain for another 8 days. They're calling for blue sky and sunny like this for the next 2 or 3. So I don't really want to rush this stuff, but I'm also, you know, not willing to leave it out too long, especially if we can get it in. Once we get done making it, hauling it in, then we have to actually load some up and haul it out of here because I don't know, that shed, I only have enough room here for like 250 bales, give or take. And the thing is, those were only 54-inch bales, you know, 54 inches tall. And I'm planning on making these 58 on the monitor because the problem is, by the time the buzzer goes off, you hit the clutch, you hit the brake, usually you're over your 58 size target. 58 inches tall is what I'm talking about there, because the baler is 5 feet wide and I'm trying to make a 5x5 bale, 5 feet tall. Then generally you're going to run over a little bit anyway. So I don't want to get over 1,500 pounds because then I start losing potential buyers, because people that buy this stuff to feed their horses or their hobby farm animals, if they got goats or sheep or a cow or two, which, you know, is common around here, their equipment generally can't handle anything over 1,500 pounds. And talking to the local sales barn, they've seen that trend where the amount of people willing to pay for 1,500 plus pound bales really drops off. And I want as many people as possible interested in the hay that I'm making. It might look like crud to some people. It's not beautiful alfalfa. I mean, that is a lot of material coming out the back though, don't you think? It's pretty neat. But it's grass. There's people that are willing to pay good money for just grass. So I don't know, just trying to do everything right with it. Because, you know, row crop ground, trying to get ground rented is, you know, impossible. So I'm just making the best of the situation I got. It seems how I can make some really awesome hay down here, weather permitting. Cattle crops, hay, kids. I think we're doing all right. So really quick on the tractor talk. Saying that we really can't justify buying a tractor to make hay. I mean, it wasn't a negative comment. I actually understood what he was saying. The reason that I have cattle, because it went into him talking about having cows. You can't really justify raising cattle because they just don't make any money. You know, depending on whose operation and how you're all set up, for us, we have pasture that it's only good for pasture. I mean, I'm not going to let it grow up to crud and try renting it out for hunting because I don't want that headache either. The cows, we're actually reclaiming a bunch of the pasture so we can improve our cow herd. I've said it before, our cow herd is probably the biggest thing that we can improve on, that we've been improving on. I mean, the row crops are doing really good. It's just the hay ground is actually really improved. But it's the cattle that, you know, culling out older cattle and picking quality bulls and watching your genetics and keeping heifers back. We have plenty of ground to grow our herds quite a bit yet. And seems how our pasture is only really good for putting cattle on it. We're really not putting a whole lot into our cows, to be quite honest. We've got to pay for pumping the water and keeping the waters warm in the winter. They're on pasture from May 1st until January 1st because all of our cattle, I mean, Ryan's, he's got to finesse his a little bit. But down at my place, we have enough pasture down there, plus the access to the field ground, that for the last 2 years, I haven't had to put bales in until about the 1st of January. So then when you're only feeding them from January, February, March, by April, the grass is starting to grow because they're in a pasture that they're being bedded on. So the cows are already starting to kind of chew on the grass, so their food intake does kind of drop off when you get to April. And then by the 1st of May, you're done. So I'm trying to raise cattle as cheaply as possible. And they're really best at converting junk ground, I don't want to say junk ground, but pasture land, and converting it into dollar signs. Otherwise it's just going to grow up to nothing. Same thing with my hay. I bought the cattle because typically, I mean, last year was a good example. Year one, you get hay that gets rained on, you really would rather, it's not going to be really worth that much hauling it out and trying to sell it. I mean, maybe break even, maybe lose a bit of money. I fed it out to the cows. I still have 20 bales from last year that I'm feeding out to my cows. They're locked in, they're not out on pasture. My cows, not Dad's. They were out in the pasture for about 3 weeks. They grazed it all down because I have 2 May cattle for how much grass, how many acres is actually in that pasture. I'm gonna wrap this up quick, so just give me a second. So what I've been doing is I got them locked back in on concrete, and I'm feeding them the last of our fodder bales, which we have 2 left, which are full of ears of corn, because we had the derecho, whatever it was, last year, and it knocked all of our corn over. So I went through and made fodder with a bunch of corn in it. Cattle love it, absolutely love it. I can't keep it till this fall because the rodents, I've already moved the last like 8 bales, moved them already because the rodents were moving in, and I'm not happy about that. So I don't want to let the local rodent population, move in and set up shop. And then feed out the last of my hay from last year, which it isn't beautiful, beautiful stuff, but the cows are eating it. I mean, honestly, it just looks kind of neat on the outside, but on the inside, it actually kept well because that hay preservative did exactly what it was supposed to do. I mean, actually, it kept the hay from going completely nasty on me. So with that, I got, this is a third of what I have said. Then I got 2/3 of what I have left to do yet that way. I got about 45 acres of my first cut to do yet, plus like 25 for Dad. Ryan's caught up. So it's the middle of June. I can't say I really care that we have first cut to make yet. I mean, quality, yeah. But I'm also picking and choosing, you know, what gets done first. I wanted my dad and brothers to get theirs in first because Ryan needed his made because part of his was pasture ground and he had to get his cows out. Also, with my dad's stuff, I wanted to have him get his stuff in because it's feed / potentially sell it too if we don't need it. And then the reason I'm down here is because it is finally dry, where I can get down here, make it. I was gonna wait till July, but now I'm looking at letting it go the rest of summer and grow the best it can. I'll make a liar out of myself if it comes to the end of July or 1st of August, and I think I can squeak a second, potentially third cutting out of it. I will. But as of right now, the plan is for 2 cuttings. I'm gonna go through and put down my liquid fertilizer this weekend. They're calling for rain all next week. That's why this place got precedence over the other 45 acres or the other 25 acres of my dad's, because that was originally what I was going to do before I realized it got this dry down here. It's normally a swamp down here in June. So you gotta, you know, adapt with whatever the weather gives you. But I think that's enough talking. I mean, I really don't like doing the long videos. But thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. More videos to come. I don't know if I'll just sit and talk to you while I'm baling and stuff. As far as the action videos go, I can try. But at least as I'm talking to you guys right now, I'm still being productive. And I'm not spending the last 25 minutes getting in and out of the tractor, you know, moving the camera around, because you can only do so much when you're tedding. So, all right, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later.